YouTube, we gotta talk. In a move that most people didn't see coming, including myself, Trailblazers superstar point guard Damian Lillard was the centerpiece of a three-team trade. That part is not surprising, but what is surprising is where he ended up. The Milwaukee Bucks of all places. I personally thought he would be in Miami by now. This is why every team in the NBA should be absolutely terrified of Damian Lillard going to Milwaukee. Let's talk about it. Before we get into the video, I just want to give a quick recap on all the details of this three-team trade. So basically, the trade was between the Milwaukee Bucks, the Phoenix Suns, and the Portland Trailblazers. The Bucks received Damian Lillard. The Blazers received Jrue Holiday, DeAndre Ayton, Tumanai Kamara, I hope I'm saying that right, a 2029 first-round pick from the Bucks, and a Bucks pick swap. And the Suns receive Yusuf Nurkic, Nasir Little, Keon Johnson, and Grayson Allen. So basically, the big pieces involved were Damian Lillard, Jrue Holiday, DeAndre Ayton, and Yusuf Nurkic. Massive blockbuster trade, obviously, we all know that. Now that all that's out of the way, let's talk about the basketball impact of this trade for the Milwaukee Bucks specifically, adding Damian Lillard to their squad, basically just replacing Jrue Holiday. So the elephant in the room in this trade is obviously the Dame and Giannis duo. What that will look like, how insane and overpowered that will be. I personally think it's a seamless fit for Dame offensively in Milwaukee, and I'm someone who believes this is going to be very, very scary for the Eastern Conference. Let me tell you why. So first of all, you have Giannis, who is, I believe, the second best player in the world right now, and you add Dame, who I believe is a top 15 or so talent. In my opinion, the Milwaukee Bucks' biggest hurdle in every playoff run that they've gone through has been half-court offense and basically scoring in the half-court, right? Like having the ability to create enough shots in the half-court and good ones, and with people who can consistently do that in the playoffs. I think that's something that we saw in 2021 when they won the finals, that was something they did really well. Honestly, just good enough to be able to get there. But Dame in the half-court with the Milwaukee takes them to a whole nother level. This is something that completely like neutralizes the half-court issues that they have, in my opinion, if everyone stays healthy. Let's just talk about the pick and roll, right, between Dame and Giannis. Whether it's Giannis rolling to the rim for a lob, obviously Jrue Holiday was a pretty good playmaker himself. That's definitely one of his strengths on offense, but Damian Lillard's gravity and him being able to pull defenders up towards the perimeter, I believe will make Giannis so much more of a threat in the pick and roll game. While Giannis won't be much of a pick and pop threat, the rolls to the basket and the cuts to the basket are going to be absolutely nuts now that Giannis will be able to play much more off ball. It's going to be really hard to defend because you can either choose to take away Giannis rolling to the basket on the pick and roll, or you can try to come over the screen and make sure Dame doesn't get an open three. Say Brook Lopez or Giannis set a screen for Dame, he can keep it and choose to either try to manipulate matchups or try to pull some of those help defenders from the three-point line and get the ball to Chris Middleton or Brook Lopez or Bobby Portis for a wide open three. Like, it's just going to be absolutely insane, the options they're going to have in the pick and roll game. Also, a thing that's not talked about enough is how much attention some of these superstar players demand in the half court. Like Giannis, I'm pretty sure everyone knows by now, scoring in the half court hasn't always been his biggest strength. It's really just scoring in transition, making plays for others, getting to the rim pretty much whenever he wants. But if the defense gets set, it's much harder for Giannis to do that. But now that he won't really be able to be double teamed and triple teamed in the paint because you have the presence of Damian Lillard on the floor, they're both going to command double teams. So it's like, you can't really double team those guys when they're on the court together because of the attention they both deserve. So you're going to have to defend individually, in my opinion, a lot of times with these matchups, and it's just going to be really tough. I don't know who's going to be able to do that defensively. I think Milwaukee's going to be pretty unstoppable, and I think Boston's probably the only team roster-wise that could even make a case that they might even be able to do that just a little bit. So it's really, really interesting to see how this is going to work out. The biggest thing that I love about the fit for Milwaukee is honestly something that's pretty underrated. I really think Giannis playing off ball, you might say, oh, that doesn't seem like it would work very well because he's not a great shooter. I actually think quite the opposite. I think Giannis having less responsibility playmaking wise and, you know, having to basically carry the team in almost every way, you're not going to have that responsibility offensively so much anymore because Dame is probably going to be the best pure scorer on the team. So I think Dame having the ball in his hands is going to be an incredible advantage that Giannis really has never, you know, played with anyone that's that great of a scorer, in my opinion. You know, he's had Chris Middleton and Jrue Holiday, who are very, very good players, but let's be honest, they're really not the level of offensive threats that Damian Lillard is, especially with the ball in their hand in terms of shot creation. So basically what I'm getting at is that Dame taking that responsibility of being the primary ball handler on most possessions and being so effective at it, being able to just create his own shot and shots for others at a top tier rate, is going to allow Giannis to be able to use his energy for other things like defense, where in the past we've seen Giannis have to, you know, carry the offensive load many times and the defensive load, to where now that responsibility, he's going to be able to use his energy in other places, like locking up the team team's best wing player, or whatever the situation calls for. He's just going to have that energy now to be able to do that kind of thing when it's asked of him, because his offensive responsibility is going to be a lot lighter, I would say. I think it's also worth mentioning that guys like Chris Middleton, Brook Lopez, and Bobby Portis are going to get so many more open threes because of the gravity that Dame and Giannis are going to cause, to where there's going to be a lot of situations where they're just going to be wide open and just have to knock down the open shot. Those guys are really good shooters. You also have guys like Malik Beasley that you brought in, be a knockdown shooter for you. Pat Connaughton, I believe, is still there. There's a lot of good shooters on that team, and I think having the playmaking of Giannis and now Dame to be able to command most of the defense's attention can be huge for guys like Chris Middleton. He'll probably see the most open shots he's ever seen in his career. He will have a decreased role. I think it's going to be similar to something you saw with like Tobias Harris in Philly when James Harden got here. I'm a Sixers fan, so I watched this closely. Like, Tobias was a guy who, before James Harden got to Philly, he was basically like the second option, or, you know, sometimes third with Maxey. He was asked to have a big part in the offense where he had to create shots a lot of times for himself. And now with James Harden here, it's more like he's turned into more of a catch and shoot player, I'd say. So where James Harden's going to get him open looks, he just has to knock down the open shots, and he's done that very well. It's been incredible for him getting more open threes than he's probably ever seen. So he's not asked to do a lot of creation now. He's more of just like, he's had to adapt to the role of catch and shoot. I think that'll be something to keep an eye out for Chris Middleton, because I think he can really do that extremely well. If Dame is, you know, hurt, or Giannis is hurt, or they're missing a game, like obviously Chris Middleton, we know he's capable of stepping up and making those plays for himself and being that second option, but he really won't have to now. So it's like kind of like a luxury to have Chris Middleton out there on offense, because if Chris Middleton's my third offensive option, I feel pretty good. But I really think the gravity of having Dame in the perimeter, like Jrue Holiday is no doubt a really good offensive player. He's obviously known for his defense mostly, but he's a exceptional playmaker, good pick and roll, ball handler, and, you know, can create his own shot somewhat. That's not the best part of his game, obviously, but he is capable of doing that. But I think Dame is like, you know, top tier that we've ever seen in that regard. So really just takes their offensive, you know, approach to they're going to be able to do so many more things creatively, and it adds so many dimensions to what they're going to be able to do. I think it's going to be so scary, especially for the Eastern Conference. I think the Heat are in trouble. I think Philly's in trouble, and I think Boston is really the only team right now, if the rosters stand the way they are, that's going to have a shot of, you know, stopping this team on defense. Like, I think Boston has the defensive versatility, but it's going to be insane, man. Something to mention that a lot of people are talking about, which I do agree is going to be somewhat of a concern. I think it's overblown a little bit, but losing Jrue Holiday with the, you know, defensive player that he is on the perimeter is not something to be taken for granted. Like, I don't think it's going to be as important as people are making it out to be, but I do think it's obviously something worth noting that, you know, now Milwaukee's backcourt defense is going to be pretty limited, I would say. But I don't think it matters as much, because honestly, their interior defense is so unbelievably good. You have Brook Lopez and Giannis just locking down the paint. So, you know, someone blows by Dame or Malik Beasley or whoever you're going to start at the two, it's really not like, is it that big of a deal if you have Brook Lopez and Giannis back there? That's kind of what perimeter defense is. There's not a lot of perimeter defenders who can really like stay in front of everybody. It's more just about staying in the play, and that's something that they're losing with Jrue Holiday going to Portland, and we'll see where he ends up. That'll be interesting too. Stay tuned for that video when that comes out, but hopefully Philadelphia 76ers, make it happen, Daryl. I think the biggest thing for perimeter defenders and having, you know, average to below average ones on the court, it isn't as big of a deal when you have an elite rim protector like Brook Lopez and the versatility of Giannis roaming the floor. So I'm not saying it doesn't matter at all to be able to defend the perimeter. Obviously it matters. Well, you know, Marcus Smart won DPOY the other year, but it matters much more when you don't have rim protectors, because they can just get right to the basket, those guys that blow by your defenders. Whereas in Milwaukee's situation, they have that front line secured. So it'll be interesting to see defensively. That is obviously the biggest question mark with this trade, and how the new head coach is going to do with all of this talent on his roster. We'll see. But I'm telling you, man, Milwaukee, this takes them to a whole nother level. In my opinion, they have really taken care of the biggest issue, which was their half-court offense and how multi-dimensional it was able to be with the players they had. This is going to be a scary season. You know, they actually opened the season against my 76ers, so it'll be interesting. Like I said, you know, have to see where Jrue Holiday ends up. That's going to be a big video I'm probably going to have to make, but make it happen, Daryl. Make the trade. But hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you guys smack a like. I had to get this video out quick. It wasn't like super crazy scripted or anything. Let me know down in the comments section what you think of the Damian Lillard trade to Milwaukee. If you think it's a really, really good thing for the Bucks, or if you think it was, you know, unnecessary. Like I said, I personally think it's going to take them to another level, and every other team in the NBA should be absolutely terrified, particularly the Eastern Conference teams. Hopefully you guys have a fantastic rest of your day today. Drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you guys are are new. Catch you guys in the next one. This is your boy D-Habe, and as always, peace.